I guess I want to focus on the sincerely held belief and how we are going to gauge whether, in fact, a person has a sincerely held religious belief. How do you propose that that be assessed?
So that's currently going to be a standard that's assessed through the court system. That's not in the scope of SB 17. I don't make the determination of whether someone has a sincerely held belief or not. The whole reason behind Senate Bill 17 is to allow that to be a defense that can be vetted through the proper system to see if the courts decide that that was a legitimate sincerity.
Well, but how are the courts going to decide that? I mean,
However
you have to present some
evidence
that this was indeed a sincerely held religious belief.
Yep.
Are they not?
I would assume the courts will use their standards that they use and go through the processes. You're a judge, or I think you recognize the process, but this is beyond the scope of 17.
You don't think, okay, this is occupational licenses
Correct.
given by different agencies. So are we going to have a situation where that agency is going to have an investigator investigate whether or not this person really has sincerely held religious beliefs as a defense?
There's already a process for investigation. If there's an appeal made, I'm assuming and I'm not familiar with all the things that go underneath the administrative boards, but they have the ability to challenge appeals and challenge any defense that's put up. This is just going to be a new defense.
Well, I mean, the process that I'm familiar with is with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They have guidelines to determine whether or not someone is really exercising a sincerely held religious belief.
There you go.
Are you saying that our agencies already have something similar?
I don't know what every agency has in that respect.
Well, that's the point, that our agency is going to have to set up an investigative arm, or maybe they already have one for other kinds of things, but this is new. This is sincerely held religious beliefs. I don't know that agencies currently are equipped to the plumbers, for example. If a plumber, who has a plumbing license denies, service to someone because of their skin, their color, whatever, right? I mean, are we saying that we are setting up a new regulatory system here, something that we frown on in this body, in this state?
No, I don't think you have to set it
bill?
up. There's already a process which, if you challenge my license, I get to have my voice. This will just be part of it. As far as how far that goes, it'll be up to the administrative board and how far they want to take it. I suspect most of these, and this is really kind of the benefit, if you will, moves it to the next level for the right discussion.
Well, and you keep saying, well, all this does is provide a defense. But what you're saying is that by providing that defense, the person's conduct is excused.
So I was just handed
Is that correct?
EEOC has a method already in place to determine sincerely religious held beliefs.
Right, it does, and that's what I said earlier. Are we talking about following EEOC guidelines? In this case, you're talking about state agencies. Are they going to follow those guidelines, or are they going to have to set up their own guidelines?
I'm not making rules for state agencies today. How they choose to go forward with Senate Bill 17, if passed, is up to their discretion on how they develop those rules. If you're telling me EEOC already has that process, I would probably say that that's a pretty good process to already or to actually model from.
Okay, so you're suggesting then that EEOC process is a process that will be applicable here with regard to a state agency?
Yeah, I don't know what the process the state agencies will employ if challenged on that issue as a defense. I will let them be the determinant for it. If you're telling me one already exists, then I would say if it's working and it's gets to the right goal as far as the outcomes, as far as getting that resolved, then why not use it? But I can't determine what process the state administration agencies are going to use.
Well, I'm suggesting to you that I think this bill is going to call for a new burdensome regulatory scheme in order to implement this the intention behind this bill. And I thought that we were all opposed to, burdensome regulations.
I would suggest
let-
to you that they will be very cautious in
Well-
taking someone's license.
Let me explore with you the defense, because you keep saying in response to several questions, all this does is provide a defense. Well, but isn't it true that what your intention is, by asserting this defense, then you can get off the hook, so to speak?
No, sir.
Well, what's the purpose for the defense?
The purpose of the defense, if I am a person of faith and I choose to exercise it, that I should have the right to defend that faith. And if the courts so choose to take my license, that be it. But not to be able to have that defense explicitly enumerated in the times we find ourselves is not. So the analogy that I'm doing this to, quote, let me off the hook, I don't have a faith that lets me off the hook. That would insinuate that what I'm arguing about is about me, and it's not about me.
Okay, let me see if I understand correctly. I'm a doctor. I've got a license as a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I have a license as a lawyer. And I just say that because of my sincerely held religious belief, I'm going to deny services to this particular individual who may be Muslim, who may be Jewish, to use Senator Hinojosa's example, Catholic, because my religion prohibits me or impedes my wanting to provide services to that person. You're saying that I then can use that sincerely held religious belief as a defense from having my license taken away. Isn't that what we're talking about here?
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, but Civil Rights Act of 64 protects religion. So in that, I would be in violation of basically discriminatory practice if I just said no based solely on the religion you named. So this bill doesn't do anything to undermine existing state or federal law. So if it's against the law to discriminate, and discriminate can include a lot of different things based on religion or based on race or based on a whole host of enumerated items already, then I'm in violation of federal and state law. Senate Bill 17 doesn't apply.
I guess I'm having trouble understanding then the purpose of this defense. It's
a licensure. It's an administrative defense. It's an
but
administrative
it's
defense.
intended to prohibit the agency from taking away your license because of your refusal to provide
sir.
a service, isn't it?
It's intended to provide a defense, and then the agency can decide. And if you want to take it away based on an application of a sincerely held belief, then that's the agency's decision, and it'll go to the next level.
Well,
In
so
addition,
go ahead.
what you're ignoring and what's being ignored, standard of care, rules of ethics, and just basic common decency. Most people that hold licenses, and there are those anecdotes, one-offs, and bad actors in everything, they're going to use this, possibly, as you suggest they may, but there's a process in place to prohibit as much as possible and punish when done. But for those people that sincerely believe what they're doing is right according to who they are as a faith person, then this will give them one more level of enumerated defense to keep that licensing from being yanked. I don't get to avoid my ethics. I don't get to avoid my standard of cares. All of those things that my license requires me to do are still in place.
All right. So are you saying, I'm just trying to understand this, Senator. So are you saying then that as a lawyer, and I exercise my sincerely held religious belief to deny service to a person who my religion says I should not have any dealings with?
You'll have a defense under SB 17.
I'll have a defense, and the agency, in my case, the state bar, says, well, we don't buy your defense, we're taking your license.
Correct.
Is that the end of it?
Well, it's up to the lawyer. I would assume he'd take it to the court system and argue that his First Amendment rights were violated, is what I guess, but I don't know what the outcome is. If the license, I didn't prevent them from taking your license at the ultimate end of the day. I didn't prevent them from forcing you to use ethics and standards that are already living by. I just said that if you feel like one of those, one of the tenets of your faith is not supported by that service, then you'll have a defense going forward.
Well, let's move on just to another question that was troubling me. How is this different than the Religious Freedom Restoration Act? Doesn't that already provide you with a remedy if you, in fact, feel that you were discriminated against by a government agency? Isn't that what the purpose of that
That's
state
what the
statute?
purpose was, and it's served its purpose well, and it is something that the two remaining members on this floor voted for and co-authored back in the 1990s. But what we've seen is RFRA is generic. It does refer to administrative boards. It did. So it's pretty far-reaching in its concepts. But now we've got situations where, I'll give you a few of those. Catholic social worker was fired due to her religious beliefs. Counseling students was forced into a remediation program due to her beliefs so that she wouldn't be expelled. Counseling students were removed from the program due to his religious beliefs.
But aren't those
So-
different situations, though, Senator? I mean,
Counseling is a
your
license authored by Texas.
religious belief and there's discrimination against you. Your bill is the opposite. Your bill is saying that because I have sincerely held religious beliefs, I can discriminate against somebody else.
No, it's a defense.
Well,
It's not discriminatory.
but that's
it's
what
a
the defense, in essence, says.
That's your
I can
interpretation.
defend myself by saying, I'm sorry, but I had sincerely held religious beliefs, and I just can't provide this service to this person.
Fire chief was fired for his Christian writings outside of work.
Well, okay, I think we're going in
Just saying,
circles here.
we're going to agree to disagree.
I don't see how this is any different, really. And I think, I guess like some of the other people who ask questions, I feel like this is a slippery slope that enables or encourages or supports people who will act in a discriminatory way against others and use the defense, as you keep pointing out, that it was really an act based on sincerely held religious beliefs. And there's a question in my mind as to how that's going to be established given our conversation here. It's a very troublesome proposal, I think, that you've put before us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.